A lot of us are extroverted. We feed off our clients' energies, and then as soon as they walk out the door, you're stuck with running a business, and it's quiet and lonely.
Or even the worst case scenario would be like you go and put all this effort and energy to set up your own studio or whatever it is, and you don't do all that other stuff, and you open the doors and no one even comes in.
Well,
so you're an extrovert with no customers and nothing to feed off.
That's what happened to me the first day. First and foremost, don't make the mistake that it's easy and buying into a franchise means that it will just work. First and foremost, it's still their business and it can still fail. So that's what they need to know. I always say, if you work as hard as you possibly can for the first 12 months, that's going to set you up.
Today we're joined by one of the biggest success stories to come through the entourage. Aaron Smith is the founder of KX Pilates, which now has more than 60 studios across Australia and internationally. So Aaron was one of the very first entourage students way back in the day, and he came back and joined us today to tell us about his journey. We talk about how Aaron went and set up such a successful franchise business. Lots of amazing lessons in there for anyone interested in franchising. We hear about how his role has changed over the years and about how he's recently installed a CEO so he can look at new products, new markets, all the new exciting things coming through for KX Pilates. Thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. I know you will too. Let's get into it. Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Make It Happen show. I'm Tim Morris from the Entourage, joined by Aaron Smith, the founder of KX Pilates. Welcome.
Thank you.
Awesome to have you on the show.
Good to be here.
Here in person. We tried to do this online and it failed miserably, so we're like, let's do it face to face.
Yep, absolutely.
Great to have you here. So you've, in 9 short years, you're at almost 60 Pilates studios across Australia. How on earth have you made that happen?
I wouldn't say they're 9 short years. They've been very long years. Look, I think it comes down to, I'd say, people first, timing second, and probably just hard work, which equates to a bit of luck as well. So if you want to expand on any of those topics, I could talk about, but
I think, I love that, like 9 long years. Like I think 9 years in entrepreneurship land is probably like at least double or triple for anyone else. Yeah. So, but hard-earned lessons along the way.
Yeah, hard-earned lessons, expensive lessons as I call them as well, not failures. So I've made a lot of them, but just really, I think the success of KX is about the people. So about the people I got on the early days, our original owners, the team we've got around us now. The team has grown the business. I always say I started the brand as the founder, but the people got and have brought it to what it is today.
And fitness is such a people business field. Like it's just all about that connection with the people.
It's all about relationships. And franchising as well, separate to fitness, is all about relationships.
Well, because you've got to build those relationships with your franchisees.
Correct.
And trust has got to be there. They've got to trust you that you're setting them up on the right path, and then you've got to trust them to represent the brand.
Which is the hardest part.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the brand has to come first. And the brand sometimes overrules an individual, and that's the hardest conversation to have. And how do you explain to a franchisee who is so into their business and they've invested so much that the brand is more important than them and they can't do certain things because it might affect the whole business?
That's a really interesting paradigm that a lot of other businesses wouldn't have to deal with.
Correct.
So how many different franchisees are there across all those studios?
I'd say probably, the numbers change. We just opened another studio last week. We've got another 4 to open before the end of the financial year. So I think we're around 35 owners. So multi-studios is, we're really high in multi-site owners. We really like to teach our owners as well. Once they open one, it only gets to a stage of 6 months where they're asking us, okay, what's next? Where else can I open?
You know that you're going to give them that little taste, and then they're going to be like, right, let's go.
And some franchises only concentrate on one owner. But ours is it's such a simple business to run, and once you have one, it's really easy to open 2 and still run reception out of one or both, and expenses drop, etc.
I suppose that's why the model lends itself so well to franchising. It's like, all right, we can develop the systems and the process in one place and then just replicate that again and again and again.
Correct.
Yeah, wow.
And so 50% of our owners are ex-trainers, so which is why I franchised in the first place. I learned in London back in the day that trainers get to a certain stage. I was exactly the same. They want their own and they think they can do it better. And then they wake up to the reality when they do open the doors and they are a business owner that it's not as easy as they thought.
Yeah, well, and actually imagine they end up getting away from a lot of the stuff that they love. Like being a trainer, you love that people interaction, and you love the hands on the tools or the hands on the the equipment or whatever it is, and then when you start running a business, all of a sudden it's like, I've got to do like marketing and systems and payroll and all this stuff that luckily you figured out for them.
Correct, and that's exactly right. So you don't have to go through the rubbish that I went through of being, lonely, pissed off, angry. Because as a trainer, a lot of us are extroverted. We feed off our clients' energies, and then as soon as they walk out the door, you're stuck with running a business, and it's quiet and lonely.
Or even the worst case scenario would be like you go and put all this effort and energy to set up your own studio or whatever it is, and you don't do all that other stuff, and you open the doors and no one even comes in.
Well,
so you're an extrovert with no customers and nothing to feed off.
That's what happened to me the first day. That's interesting. Okay. I thought I was awesome. The studio looked amazing. Compared to what it looks now, it looks terrible. But back then, I thought it looked amazing. But I did no pre-sale. I didn't know what a pre-sale was back then.
Yeah.
I had no idea about business. So, that's joining a franchise. You don't have to worry about all that stuff. We have it all mapped out for you.
So do you take your new franchisees when they buy in? They obviously get the system for running it, but you take them through all that pre-launch.
Correct.
I'd imagine even how to find a good site, how to build up a list of customers before they even launch, how to actually get the thing off the ground well. Is it part of the whole package?
Absolutely. So we assist with finding the right site. We obviously have to approve everything. All the signage is, we've got signage guides, build guides, all of that sort of stuff. Everything is literally step by step.
Yeah.
To the pre-sale, where I think we're averaging 600 to 800, if not above, pre-sale registers before they even open their doors.
Yeah, wow, that's really good.
It kind of just kicks off day one, and we always say as soon as the doors are open, the hard work is over.
Yeah.
You just have to provide a great experience then, and they'll come back.
That's why they're going opening another one soon, another one
That's
after
that.
Yeah. So why Pilates? Why is this the area that you've specialised in and having so much success in?
So I had an exercise physiology, or do have an exercise physiology degree, and I was a personal trainer, and I did that in Melbourne. Started travelling the world, kind of looking for what else I could bring back. I always wanted to own my own business, had no idea what it would be. So started travelling the world. I spent 2 years in Colorado as a personal trainer over in the ski fields of Colorado and Beaver Creek.
Would have been tough.
Amazing. Which was great because it taught me how to train the wealthy and the rich.
Yeah.
And kind of schmooze and kind of put on that facade. The Australian accent helped. And then I moved over to London. So I walked into a studio which was the first of its kind in London, a dynamic Pilates studio. Had no Pilates training previously. Pilates in Australia was very clinical, boring. They bolted onto physio clinics to kind of elongate their client retention. And it was just nothing I'd ever seen before. Music was pumping. All the people in the room were either fit, healthy. I didn't have to go and train that heavily obese person and then on Monday come back and realise they'd just been eating all weekend and do it again. None of that happened, and I was just fit, healthy. It was nice that 98% of them were female as well, which was fun. I've always got along better with females. I've got 2 older sisters, so I was never really that footy jock. I was always a bit more friends with females. So just everything kind of clicked.
Yeah.
And I kind of said in the first week, I was like, I'm bringing this style back to Australia, and this is what I'm going to do. So I kind of went from there. 3 years I was in London, learning everything I could about the style, and got up to head trainer in that studio, teaching the trainers to come through, and came back to Australia 2009, opened 2010.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's an impressive journey. And so you did that on purpose. You're like, I'm going traveling, I'm seeing what's out there and seeing what I can bring back.
It was kind of a mix of both. I loved snowboarding and I always wanted to get over to Colorado.
Yeah.
From there, I just got the travel bug.
Yeah.
At the same time, I was like, well, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And I remember 3 years in London, I woke up one day, it was April, everyone was running out to the parks in their bikinis when it was like 17 degrees and sunny. And that's when everyone started getting really excited, and I just went, I'm done.
Yeah.
And I'm going home. And I left at the time, a girl I was seeing for 6 months, I was living with, just dropped everything and moved back and kind of started my new life. Well,
wow.
Continued back here.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I always encourage entrepreneurs or people who think that they want to go into their own business to go and travel, because what they'll see, they'll just have so much opportunity when they come back. In fact, Stewie Cook, who I know you know, was taking a year to go on a bit of a sabbatical, bit of a tour around, and because I'd done a similar thing with my wife, we did a year overseas, and he's like, I just wonder, is it the right idea from a career or opportunity perspective? And I'm like, mate, You spend a year traveling around the world, you are not going to know what to spend your time on. You'll meet people, you'll have opportunities, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So you're really great to see that's what worked for you as well.
And I even say, like, when my trainers come to me in their mid-20s and like, I want to go travel, I just go.
Yeah.
It's the best thing you'll ever do. I'm definitely going to tell my kids when they grow up that that's the 1 year at least overseas. You learn yourself. You learn about yourself.
Tell my kids they're going overseas.
Yeah. But I mean, one of my values is freedom, and I remember those metal doors at Melbourne Airport were my favourite things because I walked through them and I could be whoever I wanted to be. There was nothing that was holding me back from being who I wanted to be, and every time I did that, I loved it. So,
So actually, I'd love to dig into that a little bit more about your personal values. So you mentioned one of them is freedom.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear what any other ones are as well.
Freedom, family, and adventure are my 3 values.
Yeah, nice. It's pretty similar to mine. So my first one is adventure. My second one is progressive foundation. And my third one is friends and family along the way.
Yep.
But I only kind of really crystallized those about 5 years ago. But everything I'd done before that, you could see was in line with those things.
Absolutely.
Which I suppose that's when you know that you've got them right.
Yep.
Or you've actually properly identified the things that have been guiding you anyway.
Yep.
Yeah. And so you looking back, and I'm sure everything you've done aligns with yours. Yeah.
Everything. I was very, very close to my family growing up. Still are. Very, very. The family values in my own household, my wife and my kids now are very strong. And we're lucky at the stage of the business that we can spend a lot of time with them in their younger years. I've got a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. And adventure's always been there. I've just always loved traveling. I love getting out. You know, I started a retreats company out of Bali purely not to make money, just so I can get over to Bali every year for a month and hang out. I go away 3-4 times a year minimum. And adventure's always there. So it's like, what can we do? Whether that's going away or whether that's just, what can we do tomorrow in the city you're in? Or
how do we get out to do a little staycation or get out to the bush or go and hit the water, do whatever.
Anything.
Awesome. So now, huge growth in KX in Australia, but it's absolutely not stopping there. I know you've already got you've got the first franchisee over in Indonesia, in Jakarta, and you've also got your eyes on other nations. What's going on in that part of the journey?
Yeah, it's really exciting. So I'm heading up the international expansion at the moment just because it kind of excites me. It's great. I learn a lot along the way about evolving and innovating outside of the business. And I made a lot of mistakes, and now it's awesome that I innovate within my business. And internationally is one of them, which is really exciting. We've got a regional deal with an amazing partner in Indonesia and Jakarta. So she's got 25 to roll out in the next 5 years, and she's fantastic.
Wow.
We're still looking at the Asian sort of regions: Singapore, Hong Kong, China. We might look at America, but it's pretty saturated over there. There's a lot of competition. That's kind of what's keeping me busy at the moment.
I like that you're focusing on the Asian market and the Southeast Asian market because I think that is where Australian businesses have a real strength. The proximity, just I think there's more of an understanding, but then so many people want to go over to the States, which for some businesses is a huge opportunity, but also, it's more competitive. We have less of an advantage. So I like that you're exploring that area.
Yeah, it's just with Jakarta especially, China, they're just a couple of years behind. So that's the only downfall. You go to America, straight away they know what Pilates is, high performance, all that sort of stuff. So you can hit the ground running. Where it's an education piece in these other countries, and it's a slow burn. So, but that's fine for me because that's always been about 60 and 9 years, whatever, 9.5. But it's always been slow for me. At the start, someone's like, hey, why don't you get venture capitalist money and grow it big, and it was just never the deal for me. I just wanted to grow slow and steady, and we still don't do everything right. We still spend a lot of time, getting things right and constantly evolving and making changes. So I wouldn't want to grow any faster than we are. So it's about how do we do it properly?
Well, some of those big Asian nations might put the pedal to the metal.
Yeah, it's a different world. It's a really different world. And I had an old business mentor who was like, we're going to change the goalpost to, because originally I had 50, that was it, 10 years ago. With the Entourage, I wrote down 50 studios. And even that was like so far a reach. And then we got to like 45 and I was like, well, where are we going? So then we mapped out Australia to 150 comfortably. And then my old business mentor was like, we're going to 500, like globally. And I'd never even thought about going offshore. And then it was just random that the Indonesian came up because we exhibited in Singapore at a franchising expo.
Yeah.
And now it's just opportunity always comes up and it's usually a lot about clients coming here to visit, loving it, and then going, right, we want to take that back.
That's saying something good about what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how like when you set these audacious goals that like you think, well, oh my God, that's bigger than I'll ever be able to achieve. And then when you do achieve them, you look back and you're like, wow, look at all the step change that we've made along the way.
Correct.
Yeah. Amazing. So I know a lot of people will be very interested in what do you think the keys to a successful franchise are. Now, it doesn't have to be just a fitness franchise, because a lot of people are interested in franchising. They're interested in franchising the model that they've already developed. What are the keys to a successful franchise?
First and foremost, don't make the mistake that it's easy and buying into a franchise means that it will just work. You know, we've got a really stringent recruitment process. At the start, it was pretty lax, but you know, we really pinpoint.
You get a franchise. You get a franchise.
Well, when people are dangling money in your face and you don't even know if it's going to come off the ground or not, you kind of take it and go, we can work it out.
Yeah.
And of course, we tried. There's a few people who are no longer with us, so we tried as hard as we possibly could. But not everyone fits the right brand or your brand. So, you know, it's a learning curve. So now we know the red flags to kind of look for. But first and foremost, it's still their business and it can still fail. So that's what they need to know. I always say, if you work as hard as you possibly can for the first 12 months, that's going to set you up. And, you know, I worked, you know, a stupid 70 hours a week for the first 2 years just to put it off the ground. And I earned no money. And these guys will start earning money quite a lot faster than I did at the start. But that's not the time to pull the foot off the pedal.
Got to get the groundwork in.
Treat your franchise or franchisee relationship like a business partnership. It's always hard. It's the hardest relationship ever because obviously we talked about controlling the brand before, but then there's a royalty that comes back to head office that then head office staff get paid through this royalty, but then the head office staff tell the franchisee what they can and can't do. So this whole dynamic is kind of like, who's working for who? Because I'm paying your salary, but you're telling me what to do. So it's kind of crazy. But it's all, you've got to police the brand correctly. So that whole relationship piece is really strong. To respect your role, respect my role. You know, at the end of the day, without our franchisees, we wouldn't have a business. And the more profitable our franchisees are, the more profitable the franchisor is. So the whole relationship piece is amazing. So it's really about fitting and aligning. Some of our best owners are also our hardest owners because they are so successful. They sometimes think they can do it better. But you know that on their own it would be a different story. So you kind of have, it's all about massaging relationships and at the same time you're trying to pull people up who are a little bit lower, who you know, you can see where the gaps are and you try and set a plan for them, and then you meet them in 3 months' time and they might not have done it. So it's like, okay, well, I can't make your business successful for you. I can give you all the tools, but at the end of the day, it's how hard you work. It's like anything. So yeah, I mean, I could talk about franchising and the dynamics of it forever, but that's the key. I think the key is the whole respect level about your role and our role and going from there.
And what about on the flip side, a potential future franchisor, right? So someone they've started, they've got a business off the ground. It is something that's got some scalability or sort of like where we can copy it from here and take it over there. It might be in fitness or it might be in food or it might be whatever. But they're still early days. Like, what's the kind of pathway forwards for them? What do they need to focus on?
Yeah, again, a lot of people come to me wanting to franchise their brand, going, is this right for me? I think they've got to come back to why they want to do it and how long are they prepared to be at it. It's not an overnight success story. Like, it's like any business. I personally believe that it takes 10 years to grow a business to a good size, and a franchise, you know, I had it at 50, right? I had a coffee with Janine Ellis probably 3-4 years ago. She goes, 50, you need minimum 75. Otherwise, don't bother anymore. And I was at 17 at the time.
I was really proud of my 50.
I was like, I wanted to get to 50. She's like, because there's a big gap between 30 and 70 where you're growing your head office. So all of a sudden, you know, $500,000 goes out the door a year in salaries and you're not making any money. So the past 3 years we've been like breaking even or losing, but now, you know, it's blue sky after that.
That is so typical, right? So many of the members that we work with here at the Entourage, that 7 year, it's like always at 7 years. Or like, might be 6, might be 8, but it's around that period where it's like, my overheads have gotten to the point now, I'm employing more people, so much money's going out that, well, yeah, revenue's going up, but we're making less money at the bottom line. And you just got to push through it.
But then on top of that, because you've grown and because you are at the size that you are, everyone thinks you're doing really well.
Yeah. Oh,
so
exactly.
then you've got to deal with that as well. Everyone's like, oh, what are you talking about? You can reduce our fees or give us a break here. And it's just like, guys, it's...
I always say when we talk about how much of the financial performance of the business do you share with your team, for example. A lot of business owners so they don't want to share too many of the finances. I'm like, you really have to, because I guarantee a lot of people in your team think that the revenue of the business is what you personally are making. They're like, oh yeah, they're a millionaire, and they're like, I am not a millionaire. You're like, well, that's why you got to show them. Like, let them know how the business works.
And it doesn't help. I mean, the PR game. And the papers, they love throwing revenue figures out. And even as a franchise, it's like, we have 7 company studios now that they're doing well, but the revenues off a franchise, you're only getting a small percentage of that with the royalties. So you've got to make do with what you can.
But the papers will be like, bang, this much money. You're like, I wish.
Correct.
How's your role changed?
Yeah, it's great now. Look, I realise my personality, I'm that classic big picture kind of entrepreneurial brain thinking, the detail I hate, delegation's my specialty. So running a day-to-day franchise is not something I loved. I loved the initial stages of setting up. My passion's always been in people. So it went from personal training people and getting results that way to then into business. And if you wanted to open your own business and that was a dream of yours, I'm passionate about making that happen. So that was awesome in the early days. I'm still really close to a few of my early adopters as well, as we call them. But then after a while, as the business grows, there's certain elements that occurs, and there's certain little teams that build up, and it's always, you're putting out fires. You're always trying to keep everyone happy, which you can never do. So it was time, again, when I hit 50, I always knew that at 50, that was my time, and I was going to hand over the reins of CEO to someone who had then built a business from that sort of size upwards. So that's what I've done. So 6 months ago, I hired a CEO. Her name's Selena Bridge. She came from the Curves Fitness world, of the general manager of Australia and New Zealand. So that got up to like 600 in Australia. It's down a little bit under 200 now, but it's solidified. And she's fantastic, awesome, great people's person. Everyone loves her. She's very switched on. She's been there and done that. So it's like, fires are put on her table. She's seen them before. She's just like,
this is nothing.
Whatever. And that's great because I used to lose sleep over issues that just weren't really big issues. And again, being extroverted, my personality feeds off other people. So if energy levels are coming back to me negative, I was feeling rubbish. So anyway, put that to the side. Running the day-to-day, I don't have to deal with anymore. It's awesome.
So this is a really great pairing and common pairing in the most successful businesses. A lot of entrepreneurs don't actually get to this point, but so there's this thing like this. It's called the visionary integrator spectrum. And
I read that book.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Rocket Fuel.
Rocket Fuel.
So So Jack and I spent a lot of time on trying to figure out what's his role as the founder and CEO and what's my role as a general manager. And a lot of it was around, he does the dynamics, outward, people-facing things, customer-facing stuff as well, and I do the inside running the business side of stuff. And then we read that book, Rocket Fuel, Visionary Integrator. That's exactly it. And so it's one of the biggest challenges that we work with a lot of entrepreneurs with is they're just like you. They're like, I'm great at coming up with the ideas. I'm great at pushing forwards. I'm great at creating opportunities that no one else sees. But then the detail side of stuff and locking it down drives me crazy. And that's where you got to bring in someone like you've done.
Do you know how awesome it is though when you go, hey, this is an awesome idea, deal with it.
I certainly know the other side of that coin.
It's great. And then she's sitting there going, okay, right, let's run with it. But I'm in a fantastic position at the moment. She's brilliant at running the business, and I get to focus on the fun stuff that really gets me going and I love.
So the head office of a franchisor, how many people are in that? What functions does that look after for the franchisees?
So we have 12 in head office. So we have anywhere from recruitment, so obviously continuing the growth. We have a company studio manager who manages our portfolio of company studios. We have 3 people in marketing, so we've got a head of marketing, we've got creative, we've got social. We have a operations manager and then their operations team. So 12 are in just head office, but we've probably got another 20 scattered around Australia. in and out of businesses. So the ops team, the training team, the marketing team, we've got finance team. So there's 2 in finance.
Yeah.
And then the CEO and myself, and my wife, obviously, she was head of marketing for 5 years, so she stepped back as a bit more advisory / her brain is not what mine is.
Yeah.
So hers is systems, processes, and everything to do with that. So she's working on our IT systems at the moment.
Good visionary integrator there on the personal life as well.
Correct. Yes.
So that I mean, that's a big business in and of itself, the franchisor.
Yes.
Right. You got a lot of people in there, and you're definitely getting into like medium-sized business territory where you've got different teams, different relationships.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's great that you've actually brought on a CEO to run that.
And I was always a bad manager.
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay, your job's this, awesome. See you in 3 months. I expect you've just done it. And then in 3 months, I was like, why haven't you done it? And then we're like, well, I had no direction. I was like, well, I told you 3 months ago how to do it.
I gave you direction. I told you.
What are you like? And they're like, well, I'd like to be, And then they're like, I want a pat on the back. And I was like, I don't pat people on the back. That's not what I do. I've never done that to myself. I kind of just move on. I look forward, not back. So, and that's also been, I've noticed what my flaws have been growing as well. I'm a huge advocate for focusing on your strengths and not your weaknesses. Mm-hmm. So I've never said, hey, I've got to say awesome work to X amount of people. My wife's fantastic at pulling me up on it. Mm-hmm. She's like, hey, it's probably time this person's done a great job, let's do something, or how about you do this? I'm like, thank you, you're awesome, I love you. Bang, and it goes through and everyone's like, oh, Aaron's so great. And my wife's like, I told you.
She's in the background.
Yeah, correct. So you just need the right people and the right team to kind of get you all going.
Yeah, because you go through, as businesses grow, the first, let's call it 5 to 10, are generally going to be pretty, even if they're employees for you, they're going to be pretty entrepreneurial.
Yep.
And they are going to be pretty motivated themselves. And they are going to be able to take that direction, like, just figure this out and I'll go and figure it out. Yep. But then you kind of get it at like 15, 20, certainly the 30 point. Like, you've got a lot of people here, you've got to manage them.
Correct. And it's really hard as well because they're my team, or our team, now that Selena's in charge of them. But so you've, like any team, you've got to treat them and love them. And our culture is amazing at head office. But at the same time, in a franchise, you don't hear any news unless it's bad news. So they don't get rewarded by the network. If they come up with a great marketing campaign, very rarely will we get feedback. And that's just the nature of the business. They're like, oh, well, that's head office doing their job. Awesome, great. But when we stuff up or make mistakes, they're the first people to hear about it. So it's really hard.
I think that's super common in customer service roles. Right? Yeah, they only hear the bad news, and you'll often have, as I'm sure your head office team is, and customer service teams, they're the ones that care about the customers the most, but all they get is the negative news coming in. And so focusing on the positives, bringing them to light all the time, super important.
Yep.
So what are you getting to play with now that you're like the new frontiers are unfolding? What's keeping you really excited?
Look, so I always looked at the, so we've got pillars that I always wanted to work in. Mm-hmm. So apparel's always been one. Oh, yeah? So we're talking to a few big brands at the moment because I never wanted to start my own brand. I wanted to co-brand with an existing and dominant sort of player. So that's exciting that we're kind of working on a deal at the moment that I can't disclose too much on. The next pillar is education. Yeah. So much of our feedback from our clients are, we want to know more. We want to know about the body. We want to know more about Pilates. Where can we go to do it? We've got our providers at the moment, but to bring that back in-house is something that we're kind of looking at as well. International, as we discussed, is sitting on my table at the moment, which is a lot of fun. And then product development. So we're now at a stage and at the size where we can really bring in some customized products into studios. So the look, the feel is there, the brand is there. And I've also been tinkering around with my own machines as well, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, so more than enough to keep you busy.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I love it. And I think this goes back to something you said before. Like, it's all this innovation, but within KX, within the theme. So it's just building on your already developed strengths.
Yep. And I learned that the hard way, as we discussed. I've owned a yoga studio, I've owned a cycle studio, I've owned a ballet bar studio. I wasn't passionate about any of them, and my focus stayed on Pilates, so they never succeeded. As soon as I sold them off, they've succeeded. With people who are passionate about that sort of stuff. But I was at a franchise conference in Phoenix last year, where the founder of Just Cuts got up, and he's got like 10,000 stores across America.
Yeah, wow.
And he's like, talking about innovation and talking about innovating within your brand. He's like, at the end of the day, we still cut hair.
Yeah.
That's it. We don't serve coffee. We don't serve beer. We don't do this. We don't do that. We don't do nails. We just cut hair. But we've innovated within our brand, within our systems, our processes, our tech. And that was just a light bulb moment. I was like, what are you doing? Stop chasing the shiny objects outside of it. You've got a successful thing here. Make it more successful.
Yeah, that's great. So you're still chasing the shiny objects, but in a narrower field.
And I've got the right team to say, good idea, bad idea. We're not doing it. We are. So I don't just press the button and go, right, we're doing this, and it gets done. Everyone's like, whoa, let's sort it through. And I've got my finance guy going, we are not doing this. It's costing too much money. All the things like that. It's good. It's
Well
good to have a
played.
good team around you. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, we've got time for a couple more questions. I've got a couple that I haven't seen and you haven't seen.
Let's do it.
We try and get these done in under a minute.
Okay.
Almost always fail, so don't get the pressure on you too much. Okay, last couple of questions. What do you miss about being the CEO of KX Pilates?
Control.
Yeah?
I love control in my life. It is all about control and has been, so that's probably the hardest. And I find myself going for it again in certain instances. Selena's been away for 3 weeks and I've hit up a few meetings and stuff, and and then I pull back and go, no, it's not your role anymore. And I go, this is my idea, but at the end of the day, it's your call, so you got to deal with it.
Nicely done. Converse to that, or we'll touch on a couple of these, but what do you miss about, what don't you miss about being the CEO?
The day-to-day,
Yep.
putting fires out.
Yeah.
We'll never miss that again.
Good one. Well, you're free.
Yeah.
Before you started your business, you travelled for 5 years. Where's the first place you go back to?
Colorado, every day of the week.
Yeah.
I've got 6 weeks booked there next January. That was my bucket list. I wrote that down in the entourage, that if I make it to 50 studios, I'm going back to Colorado. I've been back a few times since we got married there, and it's just always a favourite place that's feel at home in the mountains.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Push-ups or burpees?
You know what? Why not both? Superset them.
Good answer.
Train the whole body.
And final question, if a business owner wants to enter into franchising, what's the one thing they should do to make that happen?
Research, and pay good people for good advice to model your business, to know, because your business might not be a profitable franchise business.
Yeah.
Which is the hardest thing.
So not everything is franchisable.
Not everything is franchisable.
Yeah.
And you need the right advice.
Yeah. Well, and that's even just taking the concept of a franchise to the next level up, isn't it? It's like a franchise is all about, follow a proven model. If you want to start creating your own franchise, go and learn from the people that can tell you this is how we did it.
We pulled numbers out of a hat at the start because we were like, 8 and 2, great idea, 8% royalties, 2% marketing. We didn't properly do the financial modelling. The 8% has been great, the 2% has been rubbish because as a franchise and marketing didn't work. So we had to double our marketing fund 3 years ago. It wasn't very well received by owners.
Bloody head office again.
But it's all about what more we can do for them and the brand.
Yeah. Brilliant, mate. It's so good to see your journey. So good to hear that you're one of the very first people to come through the entourage way back in the day. You've absolutely kicked some goals. You've got some exciting things ahead. So Aaron, thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Make It Happen show. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. And it doesn't need to end there. We've actually gone and grabbed a whole bunch of extra resources for you. Behind the scenes footage, videos from this and all the other episodes, as well as show notes that you can grab for free. Just head along to www.the-entourage.com/podcast and you can grab all those extra resources. Thanks for tuning in, and I cannot wait to introduce you to our next guest on the next episode.